Who here's seen Bruce Almighty? Do we know this movie? It's a Jim Carrey movie. Lots of fun. We enjoyed this movie quite a bit at our house. The plot of Bruce Almighty is super fun. Bruce is just this sort of newscaster guy that's upset about his career and thinks that God is basically screwing up his life, and so he challenges God, says, I could do a better job. And so God, in the form of Morgan Freeman, I think pretty solid choice, if you ask me, God says, hey, why don't you take over for me? And so Bruce gets all of the powers of God and gets to do whatever he wants with them. And, at first he uses them, my favorite moment is he's over he's at a diner and he's over a bowl of tomato soup, like the Red Sea, and he parts the Red Sea. Super fun. But he uses it to sort of get back at his rival at the station. He uses it to, just do a bunch of things that sort of allow him to sort of live out his fantasies. But sooner or later, the responsibilities descend, and he starts to hear all of these prayers that keep coming. And apparently, if I recall, it's been a while, but I think he's only responsible for the Buffalo area. I think he lives in Buffalo. So just not to overwhelm him too much, but these prayers keep coming in, and he tries to answer them or tries to ignore them, and then starts to try to answer them, and he's sort of just screwing it up right and left. And he creates a computer program and so that the prayers can come in via email, so he can kind of keep track of them. And then eventually, I think he answers yes to every prayer. And that just causes mayhem, because everybody was praying for a lottery win, so then everybody won, but then they only had so much lottery money, so they had to divide it. Everybody ends up getting, $4 or something. I don't remember the details, but it's kind of fun. But throughout the course of the movie, what Bruce finally learns is that the best way to be God, more or less, I'm trying to explain this in the best terms possible, but the way to be God is you have to be selfless, right? That he has to be thinking of other people, and he has to sort of weigh all of those things as he sort of uses this almighty power. And the biggest sort of question comes with his girlfriend, Jennifer Aniston. She keeps praying for Bruce, like all of these sort of selfless prayers for Bruce. And he's been doing all these things for himself. But when he finally realizes what he wants more than anything, because he's been sort of just making, I don't remember Jennifer Aniston's character name, but Jennifer's life miserable because of all of his selfish choices. And he finally wishes or sort of wants to make Grace, that's her name. Her name is Grace. Appropriate. He tries to make Grace happy, right? And in doing that, he sort of realizes that it's not about him, it's about her. And the greatest thing about that is that once he sort of comes to that realization, that blessing that he wants to share with Grace ends up blessing his life too. And they end up sort of it's a happy ending, they come back together, and he realizes by trying to make her happy and making that his sort of thing, it helps make him happy too. And he's happier, they're happier, even after he gets hit by a truck or something. There's a whole thing, and but he ends up finding all of this joy in sort of the simple things, and by caring about other people and really just sort of recognizing this godlike love. And it's really this beautiful, sweet story. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about, what that might be like if you were God for a day. We want to do a little thought experiment, because I think it might go a little bit differently. I love this movie. Don't get me wrong. I think it's a delightful movie, super fun. But I think it might go a little differently if you were truly God for a day. Because I want to sort of dive into what being God really means, and look at because I think we have sort of a closed in the Western world, in sort of religion in general, we have these very closed ideas about what God is, who God is, right? And we have, while I think Morgan Freeman is a lovely choice, the idea that God is just sort of some man on high, sort of, puppet master kind of thing, or sitting in judgment, long beards, all of those things are sort of a very closed definition. And I think when we look at Scripture, I'm going to focus on the Bible today because I know it better than other Scripture, but if you look at Scripture across, religions, the definition of who God is tends to be very open, very expansive, not definitive, if that makes sense. So we're not trying to enclose God and saying this is God is X, Y, and Z, right? But we're trying to use these sort of ideas of who God is to open our mind to the vastness of what that concept, that idea really is.